All right. Hang on. Okay. All right. Welcome everyone to Unapologetically Uterine, and this is our sixth live stream. It is also our last live stream of the year of 2023. So we have been doing this for about almost half a year now. We have been talking about a lot of things. We've been talking about abortion laws. We've talked about the holiday, the Halloween edition of it, where we talked about different witchcraft and abortion in history. And then last week we also talked a little bit about wait, now I'm drawing a blank. What did we talk about last week, V?
Oh my God. I'm the same as you are.
I'm in
I'm drawing a
holiday
blank.
brain right now. Oh, last week we talked about abortion counselors. All right. I just can't wait for the holiday. That's why I'm in holiday mood right now. And this week we will be talking about recap of 2023, all the wins and all the setbacks, and we have a special guest today. I know that usually we have Gail, but today we have Vinay. Hi V,
um,
how are
Hi
you?
everyone. Thank you for inviting me. My first time on Twitch. Very excited to be here.
So can you introduce yourself a little bit to all our viewers?
Yes. My name is DNA Estrada. I am the social media manager for How to Use Abortion Pill and Safe to Choose. I help a lot with the communication related things, content creation, all these nice things. And I guess I've been here for almost 3 years, and I'm very excited to chat about everything that we've gone through throughout the year.
Yeah, V is the, I would say, the heart of our social media because without her, you wouldn't be able to see any of our posts on social media. So she's the one who's making sure that you can get in touch with us on all our social media accounts. And again, in case you haven't tuned in before, Unapologetically Uterine is a Twitch podcast that is a collaboration between Safe to Choose and How to Use Abortion Pill. So Safe to Choose is an e-health platform where you can access all information that you need about abortion, about how to use abortion pills, as well as you can get in touch with our counselors on our website, who are multilingual, by the way. So whatever language that you speak, most likely our counselors will also speak that language too. And Vinny, how to use abortion pill? Can you introduce that a little bit in case people don't know?
Yes. So, similar to Safe to Choose, How to Use Abortion Pill is also an e platform that focuses on helping people access safe abortions, but it's more focused on medical abortion, so abortion with pills. How to Use Abortion Pill also has a lot of free online resources. For example, they have a self-managed abortion course that was made in collaboration with Doctors Without Borders. There's also a Trinitarian-made abortion course, and also a certified abortion course that is kind of backed up by FIGO. And then we have Ali, the abortion chatbot, and basically Ali is there 24/7, available to you on WhatsApp or on our website. And Ali can help with all your abortion-related questions. And if needed, Ali refer you to the safe choose counselor. So both of these platforms work hand in hand.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. So if you need any information related to abortion, head to Safe to Choose and head to How to Use Abortion Pill, and you will find all information that you need about abortion. All right, so let's talk about 2023. Wow, I feel like it's been such a long year, and yet at the same time, it wasn't. How do you feel about 2023?
I think if you're in December, I'd say that it's long because everybody just kind of wants the month to end. In general, I think 2023 has been a great year, but it's also been a year with many difficulties in regards to the work we do. I do want to highlight, for example, that in 2023 there was a lot of abortion advancements in Latin America. I'm from Latin America, so we hear about the news that there are more abortion states where it's able to access it. For example, Mexico just decriminalized another state. Colombia decriminalized it until like the 20th week, I think, if I'm not mistaken.
Mm-hmm.
So that a lot of other countries are slowly starting to let abortions become accessible and decriminalized. So that's really great. But there were also not so great news. For example, in the United States, it became more and more restrictive to get an abortion. There's heavier censorship and restrictions in social media on reproductive rights. So it's kind of been difficult. I don't know about you, Kat, but safe to choose how you feel. How has it been?
Mentally, I'm still in 2020, but oh wow, so many things have happened this year. So in preparation for this live stream, I did do a lot of research on what happened in 2023, and it was a lot. So many things happened, like you said about the decriminalization of abortion in Mexico. A lot of abortion news from the U.S. In my part of the world, in Cambodia, things have been pretty stable. I mean, abortion has always been legal over here. There aren't exactly any fights over the legalization of that. So I feel privileged enough to be able to say that, but I know that in many parts of the world, it has been a struggle. It has been a very challenging year, filled with a lot of lawsuits, a lot of cases that have gone to trials, and we will talk about that in a little bit. But I think, yeah, let's talk about the news and legal developments around the globe. So, I'll go first since you shared some already about the news in Latin America. So, I went through news articles about anything that's related to abortion in 2023, and I want to do a little recap around the globe starting from January. So in January, we started out with a good news where in New York City, they provided free abortion pills in 4 clinics. So that was about a year ago. And then at the same time in January as well, we had bad news where a Polish girl who was 14 years old, she struggled to get an abortion after being raped. And then in March, there was this whole thing with Walgreens in the US where they limit the abortion pill sales, and then afterwards, California cuts ties with them because of the limitation. And then that was in March. And then in March as well, we went back to Poland, where a Polish activist was convicted for helping a woman get an abortion, which we also posted about her on our social media as well. And at the same time, in March, there was a fight in the US over the access to mifepristone. And it was a long and drawn battle in terms of that. And then in April, the US Supreme Court blocked the attempt to try to ban mifepristone in the US. In April, good news, Japan approves the use of abortion pills for the first time. I remember that being such a wonderful news in our team as well. We celebrated it. It was wonderful. And then in June, a woman was sentenced to more than 2 years in prison for taking an abortion pill at 32 to 34 weeks. That was in the UK. So that one divided even people who are pro-choice because she was 32 to 34 weeks pregnant. So it was pretty late term abortion. In June as well, in Peru, they denied a 13-year-old abortion after being repeatedly raped by her father. So we can see the theme here where young girls, were denied abortion after being raped by someone she knew, a family member, and it made headline. And it was a unfortunately reoccurring thing in 2023. In June 24th, it was 1 year without Roe in the US. Hard to believe it's been 1 year. It seems like a long time ago, and yet it seems like such a short time as well. In July, in Australia, they medical abortion pill MS2 step can be prescribed by any healthcare practitioner in Australia. That was in July. At the same time, I feel like we're just roller coaster. We're just ping ponging between bad and
Yeah.
good news here. In July, Iowa passed the 6 week abortion ban. So that was the bad news. And then in July, at the same time, a judge temporarily blocked it from going into effect. In September, Texas law aims to punish prosecutors who refuse to pursue abortion cases. And in September, Mexico decriminalizes abortion. Can you believe it was in September?
I felt so long ago. Like my
Yeah.
brain trying to wrap when this happened, and I was like just looking over in Google, and I was like, oh my god, yes, it was in September when they decriminalized it in Mexico.
Yeah, exactly. It feels like ages ago. Also
Mhm.
in September, the Planned Parenthood in Wisconsin resumed abortion care after a judge ruled that the 1849 abortion law does not apply. In September as well, the Ohio Supreme Court battled over 6 week abortion ban. So there's just something about the 6 week abortion ban that's happening a lot in the U.S. In November,
Mhm.
Ohio voters passed amendment protecting access to abortion. And finally, in December, we have the case in Texas where a woman was denied abortion after being told by her doctor that she needed it for life saving. And then the Texas Supreme Court blocked it. And that will be in detail on our social media today. All right, wait,
Mhm.
did I miss anything?
Oh my gosh. You know what the thing is that abortion cases or cases regarding reproductive rights are like they happen so often, but they're
Hmm.
not all reported so that it can get coverage on it. So they have no idea simply because of the abortion restriction and how it's it limits a lot how women can access abortions or if they can get an abortion even if their health is at stake. We know that this case of Kate Cox that was happening recently in Texas. But the thing is there are a lot of women like her in the United States or in any country that abortions exist that they're going through the same thing but we don't
Hmm.
know about it because there is no media coverage on it.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. It's just something that happens far too many times, and yet only a selected few who are extreme cases get reported in the news, which is sad because every case matters. Every person who was denied abortion and suffered the consequences of it in any way deserves to be known about it. Um, yeah. So,
I want to say something else. We were discussing this a while ago, but I think it's also a good reminder to anybody that's watching that abortion, like we are very focused on abortion and abortion access, but sometimes I think a lot of people just focus on the very sensationalized topics and forget that at the base of this is a symptom of lacking as a society. Is it decent, affordable health care? Is it access to contraception? Do we need a better sex education system in schools? And there are things that, well, I guess they're so blinded by like what they think about abortion that they forget that at the root of this, there are a lot of problems that we need to fix as a whole in the reproductive care system.
yeah, yeah, exactly. Because abortion access is actually an intersectional problem. Because, for example, if there is access to comprehensive sex education, then people would know how to prevent unwanted pregnancy in the first place. But then, even if people know, but then they don't have access to contraception, then they still are not able to prevent that. And yet, it also comes down to things like sexual assault, for example. So, what happens if someone is sexually assaulted? Do they have access to emergency contraception right away? Or is there a stigma in society, victim blaming culture, where they are not able to access the emergency services that they need right after the assault? How do we prevent the assault from happening in the first place? Um, and then even when it comes to abortion itself, it's intersectional in a way that it disproportionately affects certain group of people more than the others. For example, if you are a person of color, it's harder for you to access abortion if you're living in a state, for example, if you're living in the US, in a state where abortion is decriminalized, is illegal, is banned, and then you have to actually go to another state to get an abortion, but you are not able to because you're from a certain socioeconomic background, you cannot afford that, then of course you cannot access that compared to people who have the means and the financial means to financial access to actually move to go to another state to get that abortion.
It's also, I think you really touched on it very well. That it's a lot of it is like a class issue, an issue of being able to afford it, and especially with these bans. Maybe there are people who it really doesn't matter to them because they can easily travel to another state, maybe even to another country. I know people that travel to Mexico to get abortions because it's the neighbor. But there are so many people who don't have the economic ability to pay for these things or to pay to travel or pay for the price of the pills, which might go up because there's scars because there's so many people getting an abortion because they know they can't go to another state to do it. So I just wish I hope that people could see like the bigger scope of everything
Hmm.
and understand why these restrictions at the end of the day are just more harmful than anything else.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And it does not reduce the number of abortions. It actually drives
Mm-hmm.
abortion underground, and it makes it even more dangerous for abortion seekers. Um, all right, let's talk about. We talked about the news and the law and the progress that have been made in 2023. But which one stood out to you the most throughout your work this year?
Oh, I'm a bit biased. To me, it's the Mexico decriminalizing abortion as a whole. I think to me it was so impactful because those who don't know, Safe Abortion Month is in September, and Safe Abortion Day is the 28th. And Mexico mentioned it was going to decriminalize abortion in the whole country during September. So it was just such a huge win for all the abortion activists and anybody who needs an abortion in general in Mexico. It does not mean that it's legal. All the states, it doesn't mean that you're able to access it in any clinic, but they're working towards nobody being criminalized for having an abortion, for making it easier to access. And in the states where it is legalized, I think that in the like the free healthcare services that we have in the country, that are subsidized by the government, abortion will now be able to be accessible in those places. So that means that it's a win for women don't have the economic ability to go to a private clinic or buy the abortion pills privately or get their in-clinic abortion privately. So to me, that was like the biggest win. And I think it's just like a reminder that this is a country that's very, very, I wouldn't say anti-abortion, it's very religious. So there's a lot of biases regarding if abortion should happen or not because there are a lot of conflicting views. But even so, in a country that has these a lot of stigma and misconduct. If it was able to be decriminalized, I feel like a lot of countries are going to start following suit, especially in Latin America. So to me, that was like the biggest. I don't know about you, Ken.
I think, okay, I might have to say that that one was the most notable one for me as well because of the team. Because there was just so much excitement in the team that I couldn't help but feel the same way about it as well. So I
Mhm.
think that was a very notable one. I think other than that, there were some cases where girls were those were the depressing ones. It stood out to me in a different way, not in a more of a positive way, but more in a sad and depressing way, where the girls were sexually assaulted and then they had to be denied access to abortion. So those stood out to me, and the good and then the very, very bad. Let's talk about trends since you are on social media a lot, and
Mhm.
I do wanna, I do wanna know what you noticed about trends and talking points about abortion on social media in 2023. Has the
Um,
conversation shifted somehow?
I think it was last year that it was because of Roe versus Wade, it was very trending, like giving abortion advice on social media, and not all of it was I'd say very safe. There were a lot of iffy trends. I know a lot of people do it with intention of helping, but if it's not um really regularized, it's not like really controlled, it could be a bit more dangerous. But I noticed that this year was more information regarding like abortion with pills. Like instead of recommending like some herbs or teas, which could work in some circumstances, but I feel like that you have to have like a really good consultant. I feel like with medical abortion, it's much more simpler. And it's also easier to access information regarding how to use them. You know, the World Health Organization gives its guidelines so that anybody can use it. And so I feel like on social media there was a bigger push regarding like how to safely have an at-home abortion. And I also saw a lot of an uprise in telemedicine services. Like I've seen a lot of abortion organizations starting to be more active in social media and just to share more information. I've also noticed in the Latin American sphere that there's like a bigger community, as in women who are going, you know what, I had an abortion. I saw that you commented that you want to have an abortion, send me a message and I can help you. And I'm not necessarily abortion companions, but there's just like a bigger sense of community and sisterhood and sorority that I feel on social media that stands out to me because people are trying to destigmatize it and be like, you know what, this is my abortion story. I have the experience, know what you may go through, so I want to be there with you and support you even if I don't know you. So that's what I want to stick with. That and censorship. I feel like maybe you can share more about the censorship.
Mhm. So, this might be a difficult question, but I want to know your trend prediction for 2024. So we're heading into 2024, and we know that, especially in the US, 2024 is going to be a big year because of the election. And whether we want to or not, what happens in the US will affect many places around the world. It will have a ripple effect somewhat. Um, how do you think, what do you think is going to happen in terms of social media conversations in 2024?
Oh, I feel it's so tricky. Um, in regards to like the USA audience, I feel like there's gonna be like there has to be like a slogan. There's gonna be like something catchy that's gonna grab people. You know, for example, right now there's the context of what is happening in Gaza, and we see that other people took to social media to show their support because they can't necessarily go march in person. So I feel like there's gonna be a lot of symbolism regarding abortion. So I feel like that's one thing that's gonna be very prevalent. But again, I feel like there's going to be a lot of advice. And I know on social media people like to share advice and they share it in like a non-sharing way, like don't go to this pharmacy and don't buy these pills if you wanna if you don't want to have an abortion, like things like this. I feel like that's like gonna be the trend. Like people are gonna give advice without giving advice because it's gonna be so hard, especially with digital footprint
Mhm.
and censorship and unfair punishment to people who have like a political stand. I noticed that this year. I feel like it's gonna be stronger next year.
Mhm.
Probably gonna be more abortion advice, but it's gonna be more discreet.
Mhm. Do you think the corporates are gonna get involved in this? Because we know that recent years, for example, if you're talking about Pride Month, there have been talks of rainbow washing. Since abortion is a heated talking point, do you think the corporates will somehow, I don't know, abortion wash their campaigns or something like that?
Uh-huh. Yeah. So yes, there's no other answer than yes. That's gonna happen. Like I know in Latin America, the symbolism for abortion is much stronger, I would say, than other regions. We have the green, the bandana, like the green wave, and all these symbolisms. And I know when abortion month here in like Mexico, there are a lot of more companies doing this, and I see that mostly in like Women's Month for Women's Day. A lot of companies take advantage of that. So I feel like if there's seeing that there's an uptake of people pro-choice and reproductive rights, they're 100% are gonna sell like fans on my bodies and like all these uh, slogans on their merch, and they're not going to donate it to any of the organizations that do the work. So unfortunately, I think if we live in this very capitalist system, it's going to happen. Um, it's a double-edged sword because, like on one hand, there is more media coverage and it's more normalized, but on the other, it's not actually helping the cause if it's not
Mhm.
donating to it.
Mhm.
So there probably is. I like it. What do you think?
I think probably yes as well because we have seen it happening a lot in terms of Pride Month. So I can expect that if the public opinion towards abortion is shifting towards being pro-choice, I think the corporates are gonna take advantage of this and try to yeah, make profits off of it as they always do in this capitalist world. So how do you think we should tackle that as consumers?
Oh, I feel like
I
I
feel like
think
we're veering into a different
sorry.
conversation, but I'm just wondering.
Yeah, no. The thing is, I'm like thinking about it, and like I have to admit that like for example, Women's Day, I've fallen like prey just to the merch they bring out. Just because it's just so pretty, it's so
Yeah.
nice, and I feel like it aligns with my vision. You know,
Mhm.
like it's like feminism is for everybody, or like women, or things like that. And I'm like, it's so pretty. I want it.
Mhm.
Like I can't like punish anybody for like liking it because I've fallen victim to it. But I think what I feel like it's the best route is to maybe do it consciously. Like,
Mhm.
okay, so I like this from this certain brand. let me investigate like if they are true to what they say, not just performative actions. If they actually have equal salary for the women in their company, if they actually are pro-choice, if they're not supporting any anti-choice establishments. And I feel like if we can do that, that's the first step. And then also make sure to reach out to your local organizations or your local activists or your local abortion clinics and see if they sell any merch or if
Yeah.
they sell anything. Because I feel like if you're gonna spend your money to give it to a company, you might as well give it to somebody that's doing something, that's actually helping the cause. I don't know if you're like me, Kat, or if you have self control.
Oh, I do love those kind of merch as well. I think they're so pretty. I love them. I feel like, oh, this statement T-shirts, for example, I do love them a lot.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, I completely agree with everything you said, especially the last part about doing your research, because some companies, some brands, they put out up front that they support a certain cause, but if you dive deeper, they don't really practice that in their own organization. So it's better to support local organizations or local um, activist groups, for example, that are selling those merch and using the revenue to support those causes. I think that would be a lot better. Yeah. Going back to our conversation, what is something new that you have learned based on everything that's happened this year?
That has influenced me. I'm sorry, what?
What is something new that you've learned?
You know, I've learned that happened this year. Oh, there's a lot of things. I think there's like one consistent thing, and then like there's another thing that's very recent. But my one consistent thing that I've this year, but especially since I began working here, is that you cannot change somebody's opinion if they don't want to learn. That no matter how much you provide information and you provide resources and you provide access to like data, if somebody is anti-choice, they're going to be anti-choice until they decide not to be. So I think with that, I learned patience, patience, and to not give up, to not be like, oh, there's no hope, we can't do anything. I feel like people are always, we have as humans the ability to change consistently. And I feel like if people one day decide that they want to learn and they actually want to get to know more about abortion, they'll be able to do it. And then the other thing I learned this year very strongly is that I went to the RightsCon in Costa Rica on behalf of WFP, and there it was very focused on like digital safety. And I just like I don't know why, because I thought I've never been in danger. Like I've never heard my maybe I have, but like my data or like my me as a person at risk because of the work I do. And then at the conference they were just all these tricks to like protect yourself, protect your data. If you're an activist and you're in a really that's dangerous where like abortion is restricted and it's very dangerous for you to do activism, like how can you um, take care of yourself with your number, with your social media? And to me that was so important, not just like as an abortion advocate, but just like as a user on the internet, realizing how much of your data and your safety is so exposed and that we do basically next to nothing to protect that. And especially the advocate space for advocates, I feel like we need to do a better job at just protecting ourselves. So I feel like if I want to share one thing here is that if you're an abortion advocate, abortion provider, abortion seeker, like there are ways and there are companies that are willing to help you and protect you, especially in the digital space. So that's what I think I learned like the most. I don't know what have you learned that?
It's interesting that you talked about digital footprint and digital safety because as a content creator, I do have to balance that a lot because on one hand, as a content creator, I have to share a lot of my life online. It is just part of the brand. But then at the same time, I do want to keep my privacy. I do want to stay safe because I talk about feminism, I talk about activism, all these topics. So it's really a hard line between being accessible and being public while at the same time also staying safe and protecting yourself.
Mm-hmm.
I do feel that it is something that I'm still struggling with, along with the patience, because I've never been a patient person. So I do want to learn those skills from you. Okay, things that I have learned this year. I have learned that I am very privileged, and I never noticed that privilege before in a sense that I have always been able to talk about abortion openly. There has never been, even the backlash that I have received is very minimal. It has, it contains to just social media comments and accusations, but nothing life threatening. I have never felt fear for my life about talking about abortion. But then this
Mhm.
year, after working at Safe to Choose, after talking to a lot of people on the team, I have realized that I've been very ignorant of my privilege in a sense that I never realized that other people, other abortion advocates around the world are not having this kind of safety net in a way because they they are actively putting their life in danger, their safety in danger by just talking about abortion. Um, that restrictions are so different. I mean, it should be an obvious thing, right? Abortion
Mhm.
restrictions are different in each country, but I never realized that it was so serious to the point where it is life threatening to even talk about abortion like that. So that is something that's
Mhm.
very eye opening to me this year. And the second one is kind of related to that as well. In that some people are so against abortion that they would harass you, they would go on social media and they would do everything. They would report you, try to get your account taken down. And I'm talking about the instance with our Portuguese account where we were,
Mhm.
yeah, being spammed. So that was also something that I've learned as well, that some people are so staunchly against abortion.
Mhm. Mhm. I think that our points kind of interconnect a lot. I feel like we had the same like lessons this year. But yeah, there's so much things that I feel like are out of our control. Like even if we wanted to like do our best, that some people might not. They just don't want to listen. So it's very hard to like. I think I know that something that we a lot with is that we know we reach a certain audience. We reach a choice audience. But sometimes we want to reach a not necessarily pro-choice audience because for us, the most important thing is that whoever needs the information can access it, even if like they were anti-abortion their whole life. If they need it, we want them to have it. Um, it's so hard to get this information to the general public because there's so much stubbornness against it. Like,
Mhm.
we're not gonna listen. We're not even gonna like learn it, like a basic thing. Which is why, like going back to what I said at the beginning, maybe if they included abortions in sex education, it wouldn't be so controversial, and it wouldn't be like, you know what, this fails, and this fails, and if this fails, and if like at the end of the day it's not your choice, then you have this option. But I feel like people are so against it that we can't get to that point yet.
Mhm. And I think you made a very good point about reaching people who are not pro-choice as well, because we don't want to be stuck in an echo chamber. We don't want to be in this fear in the internet where we just repeat each other and just parrot what each other is saying, agreeing with one another all the time, because we we do believe in choices, but we want to somehow make other people see that choices are not bad if it's their own decision over their body. We also want to reach those people as well. And sometimes it can be very difficult, sometimes very frustrating. It feels like talking to a wall sometimes. And we
Mhm.
know that their conversations and debates and arguments on the internet rarely lead to people changing their minds. I mean, I don't know a lot of people whose mind was changed after being involved in an internet debate. That rarely happens.
No, no, it does not.
All right. So challenges or controversies, anything that came up during your work in 2023?
And I feel like I think you mentioned it. I'm the social media, one of the social media people here on the team. So hard getting your content not restricted or not getting like shadow banned, for example, on TikTok. Our first year of growth on the Black American account was so big. We went from like 30 followers to like 100,000 and something. And then this year was so stagnant. We're not getting like our content isn't getting recommended to anybody. And I know that like for example, Center for Intimacy Justice is like doing the reports in regards to like who was facing censorship, who was facing bans. I know that we've had a lot of different posts on Facebook, especially for safety choose and how to use, and also like the different like one. Like a lot of our content gets even content from like 2016, like way before our time, like content that was here before we existed in WFT. It's getting like banned, and because of those like earlier content that are getting restricted, our profile as a whole is banned. And we don't reach the people, and then we go back to what we said, like we're not reaching anybody who can need this information. So
Mhm.
teaching, anything that making educational that isn't socially accepted. So I know, like I'm saying that, and this is on abortion, that we have a lot of restrictions. But our friends at Five Minute Method, those accounts are the hardest to get past the net. Those accounts are so hard to grow. I thought it was gonna be like the opposite. I thought like sex education was gonna be easier and abortion was gonna be harder. But sex education is harder. And then we go back to what we said, like if we're not doing comprehensive sex education, we're gonna have unwanted pregnancies because we're not learning how to prevent them.
Mhm.
So like it's just like social media as a whole is just making it much harder. And back to like the trans, I feel like it's gonna be way harder next year, especially with like the elections and everything. It's gonna be way worse.
Yeah, I agree. And this is something that happens globally, or at least it happens to me as well. So, a little context. As I said, I'm a content creator as well. I started out talking about sex education, and when I started my TikTok, I was posting a lot of content about sex education, as it's something that I've always done. At first it was fine, but then after a while, I think after the first year, I started getting flagged a lot. My account was constantly in warning, and videos that were uploaded for months and months and were fine, but then they ended up being flagged. Ended up, I had to, I think every day or every few days, I had to wake up um, to one of those, what is it? One of those, what is it called? Strikes. One of those strikes all the time. It has reached a point where I realized that if I kept doing sex education content, I would be banned from the platform. So I had to pivot my content from talking about sex education to talking about different lighter social issues, like talking about sexism, talking about misogyny, rather than talking about those kind of topics like in Find My Method. And I do see the problem with that as well because TikTok has a problem with censorship. It censors everything. It's so hard to bypass that. In Meta, there is also censorship, but I feel like TikTok is still worse when it comes to content like that. But yeah, I hope that it gets better, but I don't see how it's gonna get better because content like that, controversial content like that, is always so difficult.
Yeah, and I had an interview with somebody, and they asked me like, "What are your like, what do you do to bypass these sex critics?" And I told her, usually what a lot of people do with us is that they would find different ways, for example, to spell abortion, different ways to spell sex education, just so like we don't get flagged by changing the O's for zeros and things like
Hmm.
that. And she asked me, "But do you think doing this contributes to like this idea that abortion is bad, that we can't even talk about it as it is?" And like the question perplexed me so much because I was like, I can use this, but like I have no other option. And I
Yeah.
told her that I was like, in an ideal world, I can fight stuff as I can talk about it as it is, but we can't. We can't because they're not letting us. So for now, we're gonna have to take the alternative that allows us to reach more people, and hopefully in the future, like we don't have to use like tricks to um bypass the censorship.
Yeah. Yeah, that question was a weird question because it was either you either have to spell it like that, you have to try to um, use euphemism for it, or you just don't get your content out at all. I mean, it's a no-brainer. At least you get your content out. Otherwise, you
Yeah.
would just get your account banned. But I also want to reiterate that this issue is not just for English because in my content, I speak Khmer, so the algorithm even detects those words in other languages as well. So it's really a global problem.
Mhm.
All right.
And I
Yeah. Let's talk about the good things instead. Let's talk about the wonderful new features or new tools that our platforms have released this year in 2023. Um, yes. So what new things have we released in 2023? Do you remember?
I feel like new things, huh? I'm trying to think, but we were so restricted this year that I don't know if I'd say that it was like a great thing. Maybe I would be inclined to say that I don't know, maybe like AI made it easier to like discuss these things.
In terms of
Artificial
sex
intelligence,
issues
like
and
you
our
can use it
platforms.
more about this. That being said, I've seen that there's some biases like with the AI thing, so I don't know. I don't know how to like successfully answer this question because I don't know if they're like passive that's like super great. Maybe like the chatbot industry is growing so much, like the industry that like have easier access to information, not even just like abortions. Like I've seen that we went to some of the Mexican team went to like an event, and they were like promoting a chatbot that was made for like victims of femicide, like family from that had a
Mhm.
victim from femicide, like they're afraid of like their security being um, breached. Like they had a chatbot that could help them like tell them where do you have to go to like make your I'm blanking. Like where do you go to ask for safety in the government? Like what institutions are available for you? Like what help groups could you access like with family members that want to do something like this? So I feel like maybe like the tech industry is moving towards a positive in regards to like activism.
But what about in terms of how to use and safe to choose? I mean,
Oh, okay. Um, okay. So that's like, oh yeah. How to use? They launched their new SMA series with Doctors Without Borders. So there's like we had series last year, but this was like upgraded. So it has more detailed information on like what people might want in regards to abortion, how to manage that abortion at home. They're very, very easy to follow videos. Like they're very, very easy to follow. They're very easy to watch while you're going through an abortion. And Ali, the chatbot, is now like incremented its ability to speak more languages. So it's not just like English, French, and Spanish. It's also I know that
Portuguese.
they have Hindu. I know that they're expanding the languages. I know that they're introducing Portuguese, which is
Mhm.
fantastic. So more people will be able to access abortion services. And I think this might be a spoiler, but we're working towards being more inclusive with Ali. So now there's going to be voice like messages, like it's going to be audio. So
Mhm.
whoever is visually impaired can have this abortion information on the chatbot. And I think for Safe to Choose, we have the toolkits, but maybe Kathy could discuss the toolkits a bit more.
Yeah, so one of the biggest launch of the year with Safe to Choose is the toolkit. The toolkit is now available in English and in Spanish. So we talked a lot about this actually in the last live stream. But just to recap, the toolkit is a course where abortion counselors can take. It has different modules where you can learn about abortion counseling, where you can learn about um, let me just pull it up because um
Oh, and it's free, right? Like for
yes,
anybody who's
yes.
watching, this toolkit is completely free.
Yes, it's completely free. So it's divided into different modules and you can take it at your own pace. I think it's about 30 hours something. And yeah, you can access it on our website, safetochoose.org. And it's for everyone. Even if you're not an abortion counselor, you should also give it a try and see. Uh, All right. So next part is about the holiday and the festivities. So it's the holiday season. People are going to see their friends and their family, and sometimes meeting your friends and family isn't always the best thing when it comes to talking about all these social issues. Because if you're meeting your conservative uncle, for example, it's going to be a difficult
Mhm.
conversation. There's going to be tension. So what tips and tricks do you have? Should people want to talk about abortion with their family, like Christmas Eve?
Oh man, this is such a hard question. I think like here's the thing. I don't know if I'm the right person to ask this because first of all, I'm very like pro-choice and pro like all these controversial things, and I'm also like very firm in my ideals, so I don't really back down. But I feel like and also like I'm very privileged in the same sense as Kat, that in my family is also at least more choice being pro-choice, and the majority of my family knows what I work in, like, and my friends too. Like I've told everybody, like I have no issues telling people when they don't tell me anything. Like there's no controversy with it. But I know that not everybody like has these safe spaces. So maybe like they could do like what like a route like what I would suggest is that they do like a lighter version of their ideals. So be like, yes, like I don't know, be like they're talking about the upcoming election. Be like, well, you know, I'm a big advocate for reproductive rights, so I hope that in the future here we can see that society as a whole is leading to more towards letting people choose for themselves. And like just give like this like be firm on your stance, but like a lighter version. But I feel like we mentioned this like a lot of times today that if somebody is like very anti-choice, they're anti-choice. There's nothing you can say to really change their mind. So I feel like we also have to be I don't know, lenient with ourselves. There's that, like, we are advocates and we are like activists, but we also deserve a break. We don't
Yeah.
like fight people like to the death with our words during the holidays. Like, it's totally okay to be like, you know what, you're not gonna see my point of view. Like, I can share resources later. Let's just like enjoy this now, and then like we can discuss this later on, and then I can share more things with you so you understand my point of view. So I
Hmm.
don't know, like, if I don't know if it's like a cop out, but I feel like if it's the holidays, you deserve a break too. I don't know about you, Kathy. If you have a better suggestion than me.
I would say that one thing that I always tell people, but I think it's the holiday, so you might want to tone that down a little bit. But I always tell people that if someone is saying something problematic, even if it's your family member or your friend, you should always call that out, because if you
Mhm.
if you don't call them out, then essentially you are being complicit in a way. You're condoning that kind of behavior, but at the same time, getting into a shouting match is not gonna make a great Christmas Eve dinner. So maybe find a middle ground somewhere where you don't condone that kind of behavior, because who knows who is at the table who has had an abortion. For example, if your
Mhm.
niece has had an abortion but she hasn't talked about it to anyone, and then you have this um, elder family member who is talking about how terrible it is that people have an abortion and shaming her essentially, then you would want to stand up for that. So I think find a middle ground where you are holding onto your belief, or at the same time try not to get into a shouting match with people unless you're.
Mhm.
Some people are just confrontational. So if you feel mentally ready for that, if you don't feel if you're ready, if you have the mental bandwidth to actually get into an argument during the holiday, then more power to you. It's really about what you can handle.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I feel like like you did say it really correctly. It's important to be firm with like your stance and like make sure that anybody in your family knows that you're like a safe person to talk with. But again, like, I mean, fighting with people is never like fun, especially on the holidays. So there's always like a good chance, like, you know what, I don't agree with you. I feel like what you're saying is not helpful to society as a whole. Right now, it may not be the place to discuss it, but I sent you like this information, and then like you work on that of the year. I mean, like I said, people change, so it's like they're probably not going to change like on one holiday dinner, but if you consistently discuss it with them and like in a respectful way, I feel like eventually like they might come around, and I feel like that happens to a lot of people who are advocates and their family like starts developing like the same kind of ideas because they're like so they're they're getting to know it. So maybe like they didn't know about it before, but the more you discuss it with them and like head on first, like just like little by little, I feel like that's the best way to let people like open their eyes to something that they hadn't like noticed before, like they didn't understand before.
Yeah, exactly. So after the holiday, we will be getting into 2024. I think we talked a little bit about this already about trends you predict will happen in 2024. But what are your expectations for abortion seekers and providers around the globe next year?
For abortion seekers, I feel like we're moving towards a trend, or I hope not like just a trend, that people feel more comfortable sharing their abortion experiences or sharing that they're like not sure if they want to have like continue the pregnancy or not, or they're more open about being pro-choice. I feel like it's becoming a lot safer to do so, and I feel like it's becoming a lot easier for people to situation to understand like why it's important that we are pro-choice and we do advocate for safe abortions and safe like comprehensive justification and all these things that are important to everybody, not just women. Um, I feel like that's like what I would hope for abortion seekers and for abortion providers. I feel like I really hope that we could come together and combat the censorship, like raise awareness as to like why it's so dangerous that everything is so censored all the time. And we may not like achieve less censorship in a year, but I feel like if we have a solid base as to show like why it's so important that freedom of expression is respected in social media, future, like there's less restrictions and less stigma surrounding abortion. So that's what I feel like I would
Mhm.
love for to happen in 2024. I don't know. What about you, Kat?
I think your point about censorship, about combating censorship, is very important, because I remember watching a TikTok video by, I think it was Hank Green or John Green, one of them. But they were talking about how some people were using words like unalive to talk about murder, to talk about suicide, and then he was saying that for him, he's never had that problem because he has a large following. He's a public figure, so obviously TikTok is not gonna ban him from the platform, so he can use the word kill and murder and suicide however he wants. And he was talking about his privilege in that. So I think that to piggyback on what you were saying, I think that people on social media, influencers who have large followings, should also be doing this as well because obviously they're not going to be banned from the platform if they have millions of followers, if they're a big public figure. So they can use the word abortion without fearing that they're going to be banned. So they should also be a part of trying to talk about these social issues, trying to destigmatize abortion, trying to normalize the conversation on abortion because whether we like it or not, they are in a very privileged position where their voice is being heard more by more people and the platform and they're less censored by the platforms as well.
Mhm.
All right. Last thing. What do you think we should include in our New Year's resolution for next year? Go to
Uh,
the gym.
I look, it's very reflective every year. Every year I look back at myself and I'm like, oh man, I did not do what I wanted to do. Um, I think in regards to like us as like platforms, like how to safe to choose, I really just want to like reach more people. Like I feel like we've been so like we're in this niche, like we mentioned. I just want to reach more people. And even if they hate us, like I feel like if eventually like they listen to the information and like Safe to Choose has such beautiful testimonials. The stories are so amazing, so like heart like they just reach your heart. And I feel like if we had a better reach, if we could like impact more people's lives in that way, that would be so great. Also like projects, we're gonna launch our Portuguese TikTok just to like combat a little bit of censorship. But also like there's a lot of people who need impressions in Portuguese speaking regions, especially for the good thing that we really want to focus on. And I think we also on how to use the site, we want the estimate videos to reach more people because again, like our goal in all of this is just any person who needs a portion. It doesn't matter their age, their race, their location, their ideals, their political stance. Like if you need an abortion, we want you to have it. We want you to do it in the safest way with the most validated like information and backed up facts. So I feel like us reaching more people is like the goal. I feel like that's my goal personally. And I guess just like as an advocate, I don't know, I just want to like, I don't know, locally, I'd like to reach more organizations that are like pro-choice and like more feminist and all these things. Like I'm very like in the digital space, but I feel like sometimes you just need to like have a heart-to-heart conversation with people in person. So I really like to do that just like on a personal level. What about you, Kat? What are your like resolutions?
Pretty much similar. I think my New Year's resolution, and I think a lot of people should include this as well, is to amplify the voices of people who are pro-choice, people who are advocating for abortion online. Because as we have talked about this already, 2024 is going to be a wild year because of the U.S. election. There is going to be a lot of misinformation. Just expect a lot of misinformation online. So try to amplify the voices of people who are credible, people who are advocates, people who actually have the accurate information out there because we know how harmful misinformation could be during COVID. We know how harmful that was. So try to amplify the voices and yeah, be supportive and be compassionate and just be decent human beings.
That's the main lesson for this call. Let's just all be decent people.
Yeah. All right. So final words for abortion seekers this festive season.
Okay, my final words for abortion seekers this festive season. I guess one, you made it through the year.
Mm-hmm.
You made your choices. You may have been frightened or maybe like confused with what you wanted to do, but you are so validated. Your experiences are so validated. What you want is so validated, and you're never going to be alone. Like I know that a lot of people feel alone, but there's always going to be somebody. Even if like I'm in another country, like I will support you. Like, I will be here for you if you need that abortion support. And I hope that your 2024 is just filled with so much happiness and love and mostly like just support and sorority and this sense of community that maybe you didn't have this year. And just to like amplify that, no matter what anybody else says, you as a person are valid, and that each year it's going to get easier because you're going to see that there are more and more people standing with you. Maybe not physically, but we are here with you and we'll always support you. So
Mhm.
that's my message to them.
Okay, perfect. I think you covered everything, so I don't need to give my final words. You've covered everything that I wanted to say already. All right, so this is our last live stream of 2023 for Unapologetically Uterine. And if you want to find out more about Safe to Choose and how to use abortion pill, you can head to, well, if you want to find out more about Safe to Choose, you can head to safetochoose.org. You can follow us on all our social media platforms at Safe to Choose. And you can also find our Spanish account on Unapologetic. So we have all information about abortion, about how to use abortion pills, about we also have our counselors as well. Again, if you need any consultation, we also have the toolkit where you can get information about abortion counseling if you are an abortion counselor, and also head to how to use abortion pill.
Yeah, so for how to use abortion pill, if you want to like access our information, please go to abortionpill.org. It's very on the nose. Our social media is the same. How to use or HTU abortion pill. You can find us on X, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, YouTube, Pinterest. And we have our, like I mentioned, we have a lot of courses. We have our certified courses, we have our SMA courses. All these courses are free. They're easy to use, they're accessible, but even if you have an issue, you can always contact us. We have Allie, our Safe Abortion chatbot. We love Allie. She is our go-to gal for all the abortion information you want regarding abortions with pills. So anything you need to know about abortion with pills, how to use them, what you need to know before and after, common questions, maybe some side effects, we have it on our website. And yeah, look forward to all the basic things that we plan to launch for this year. And thank you so much for starting this year. How to use and the safety is also is very happy to help abortion seekers around the world. So hopefully we can help more next year.
Mm-hmm. Yes, exactly. Thank you so much, V, and thank you everyone for tuning in. I hope that everyone has a beautiful holiday. Enjoy this holiday season, and we all will see you in 2024. Bye.
Thanks everybody. Bye.